training. Thank you. This meeting, by the way, is being recorded. So while I'm talking, we'll record it. Once I open up the mics, we'll go ahead and stop the recording. So next week, for example, we're going to talk about emergency preparedness. So please plan on joining us at some point. But today's subject is HIPAA. So here, nothing better than to start with a pre-test. So a couple of questions for you to get your brains going. So how do you spell it? Is it HIPAA or is it HIPAA? Is it with one P or with two P's? And what does it stand for most importantly? And stay tuned. We'll get to it as the presentation goes on. Here's a second question. Is it okay to text patient information using your work cell phone, even if it's just texting your own coworker? Is it okay to give out patient information to a caller stating he is the patient's son? And the fourth question, again, this is a nuanced one. Is it okay to email information to the patient's doctor's office? So let's see if we can get those answers as we go along here. I'm going to try to make this screen a little bit bigger so we can all see it. How's that? Is that better? All right. So HIPAA's actually been around with us for a few years. It almost seems these days that it might be a little bit longer than some of you have been born. We're getting younger and younger folks coming onto the agency. So HIPAA's been with us since 1996. It's part of the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. Okay. This was back in the Bill Clinton era, if I'm not mistaken. And the rules are related to the disclosure of individually protected health information. That's another acronym we use very frequently when we talk about HIPAA, PHI. And HIPAA essentially, makes a law around the protection of health information. So it goes from something that is just, a nice thing to do. It'd be nice if your doctor didn't post your information on the front page of the New York Times, to it actually being a law. Okay, they're not allowed to do that by law. There are significant penalties. So that goes for us as well. We really want to safeguard our patients' information once we take them on service. Just some more information about that PHI. So HIPAA protects all patient information, verbal, written, or electronic. They don't cover smoke signals, but I'm sure that's included in that as well. So really anything that is a protected health information, and I'm actually going to share with you in a little bit the 18 items that Medicare actually lists out as PHI. So stay tuned for that. Okay, again, in a nutshell, PHI includes all individually identifiable health information that is transmitted or maintained in any form or medium. I see some yawning. I'm sorry. I'll try to be more lively, or there's coffee for that as well. Let's see here. I'm going to just skip on to the next slide. And again, for those of you who are on audio only, I'm going to try to make sure to make this slide or the information is on this slide appropriate to you as well. So this slide talks about compliance with HIPAA. The number one item on here says never post about patients. To many of us that sounds like common sense. But somehow it doesn't seem to be across the board. So I really want to make sure that at least for us all who are on this call, that we know that we are never ever allowed to post anything on social media about patient information. One of the items on this slide talks about not mixing work and personal life. So one of the ways I look at this is if you are in doubt, don't post. Okay, that's easy. That's an easy rule of thumb. One of the other items here on this slide says, don't trust messaging services. You know, recently we've heard all kinds of issues with hackers getting into supposedly very secure sites. Even the U.S. government has been hacked into. So make sure to be incredibly cautious about safeguarding any potential patient information that is shared, posted anywhere. And lastly, again, when we talked about this, again, when in doubt, don't post it. So if you have a question, certainly you can ask your supervisor. You can certainly reach out to me. But if you're in doubt, don't post it. When we admit patients onto our service, we provide them with an admission package. And part of the admission package is the patient handbook. And this patient handbook, right in the center, contains 4 pages. It's a significant part of that handbook that talks about how we protect their information, how we keep their information private, and all of the efforts that we make. It is very tiny print. They do have the option to ask us for a larger print, and we can provide them that for them. The other thing that is significant, and you can see how important this is our policy. And I want to make sure that everyone on this call knows how to access our policies. It is in Chronos. It used to be Chronos anyways. There's another acronym for it these days. But in Chronos, when you go into your documents, and again, if you don't know how to access your policy, please reach out to me. And you just type in, start typing in HIPAA, H-I-P. You should see the all of the options in HIPAA policy is in there. It is an 11-page policy. It is very legalese, a little bit on the harder to understand. You're not required to memorize every word on that 11-page policy, but certainly you should know how to access the policy. So if you do have an issue accessing it, please let us know. Our next slide here is, as promised, the 18 Medicare specified PHI, okay? And again, for the purpose of those on the call that are audio only, that are not seeing the slide, I'm actually going to take the time to read through all of these items one by one. Some of these are interesting. You know, we can understand how a person's name may be a protected health information, but as we go down the list, some of these items may surprise you. So number 1 is a name. Number 2 is geographic information. Number 3 is date of birth. That includes admission date. I'm sorry, dates in general, right? So that includes birth date, admission date, discharge date, date of death. All of those things are protected health information. Telephone numbers, of course, fax numbers, email addresses, social security numbers, medical record numbers, you know, health beneficiary numbers. So far, so good. You know, we can all understand these. Account numbers, certificate / license numbers, vehicle identifiers and serial numbers, including license plate numbers. Number 13 on the list, device identifiers and serial numbers. 14, URLs, IP address numbers, biometric identifiers, finger and voice print. Number 17 here, full face photographic images and any comparable images. And then lastly, our other unique identifying numbers or characteristic and codes. So protected health information encompasses a wide variety of items. Be mindful, again, when in doubt, just give us a quick call, and please don't share if you're in doubt. Just so you know, and again, this is in the patient's book, clients do have rights. One of their rights is to obtain a copy of their health records. And I'll share a little bit of the HIPAA law sometimes gets misinterpreted, where folks have a hard time sharing when appropriate. I just actually was talking to a coworker this morning, and she mentioned to me that she had reached out to a physician office asking for a fax from a lab information on a patient that we are that we are treating. That is also part of that physician's practice, and they wouldn't share that information with us. That information is allowed to be shared via fax. That is an okay time to share health information. So know that there are absolutely times where we should be sharing information with other health practitioners in the care of the patients. We don't want to jeopardize the care of the patient because of HIPAA. That is not the intent of HIPAA. So just so that we are aware of that as well. Here are some scenarios. Okay, so here are some real world scenarios. And we'll probably talk about this in the Q&As. These are some of the things that have come in already. If the patient asks you to email or text information, let's say if you're a therapist and the patient says, hey, can you text me the site to this exercise that you're prescribing for me, or if the patient says, can you text me my schedule for the next week? Is that okay? And we'll be providing answers to that in the Q&A. How about if the doctor asks you to send information to him on his email? Is that okay? How about the use of encrypted email? Just so that you are aware, we have licenses. We have folks in the office that have a special permission to send encrypted email. Encrypted email, I don't know if you've ever received it, requires that the person on receiving the email enter a password to access that email. Here's another scenario. You know, we all carry a vast amount of protected health information in our tablets or in our phones. You know, what happens when you lose that tablet or phone? If you're working remotely and you're printing things into your home printer, or if you're texting, scanning using your home printer, is that protected? The answer is no. So all of these items are things that we will be addressing in our Q&As, so stay tuned for it. At this point in time, it's 8:15. I've spoken for 15 minutes as promised. I'm going to unmute everyone and ask if there are any questions related to HIPAA that you would like to ask. And if you need to, if you're going to ask a question, you might need to unmute yourselves.
Ricardo, you do have a question in the chat.
Fantastic. Just open that up really quickly. Can you text patient information within the agency if only initials of first and last names are used? Great question. I will be answering that question on the Q&A. It's a very, very good question, and it's a question that's been asked by a lot of folks. So stay tuned. That'll be coming out this afternoon. Thank you for that. Any other questions, anyone?
Ricardo, it's Mary.
Hi, Mary.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
I was just wondering about, I think there's more, seeing more Facebook sort of connections with clients or patients that we work with. And I wondered, you know, if it's on either end, you know, if the patient is fine with that, is it okay to do that, to have a friend who is also a patient?
it certainly actually it certainly is important that we don't mix, work and personal lives, right? So in our personal lives, we can choose whatever friends we want and be as free as we want to be, as long as there is no, work specific things that are being shared. Yeah, that's fine, Mary.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great question. Anyone else? And I don't want to keep you longer than we need to. It is 8:18 on my time here. Melissa, I know you're dying to say something. Go ahead, please.
I just wanted you to remind them, Ricardo, if we could, just put the first screen back up for attendance.
Absolutely, absolutely. So the attendance, if you would please send a quick email to Nicole Healy at Care Central VNA. So it's spelled NHEALY at carecentralvna.org. Just send her a quick email. That way we can capture everyone who's on this call this morning. On the subject line, just put in HIPAA attendance verification, and that would be perfect. I want to end with a funny slide here. I don't know if certainly those who are audio only won't be able to see it, but again, some of us might be able to relate to some of these. So everyone, really appreciate your taking the time to being with us this morning. I know it's super early. You all look wonderful. It's great to see you. I'm sorry it's not in person, but it's actually nice to even get to see a little bit of you. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ricardo.
Thank you.
Goodbye, everyone.